Dear students, today I'll teach Ulysses by Lord Tennyson. Ulysses was written in 1833 by Alfred Lord Tennyson, the future poet laureate of Great Britain. The poem takes the form of a dramatic monologue spoken by Ulysses, a character who also appears in Homer's Greek epic, the Odyssey, and Dante's Italian epic, the Inferno. Ulysses is the Latinized name of Odysseus. In the Odyssey, Ulysses or Odysseus struggles to return home, but in Tennyson's Ulysses, an aged Ulysses is frustrated with domestic life and yearns to set sail again and continue exploring the world. Dante seems to condemn Ulysses' recklessness as an explorer, but in Tennyson's poem, there is nobility and heroism in Ulysses' boundless curiosity and undaunted spirit. The lines are in blank verse or unrhymed iambic pentameter, which serves to impart a fluid and natural quality to Ulysses' speech. Many of the lines are enjambed, which means that the thought does not end with the line break. The sentence often ends in the middle rather than the end of the lines. The use of enjambment is appropriate in a poem about pushing forward beyond the utmost bound of human thought. Finally, the poem is divided into four paragraphs like sections, each of which comprises a distinct thematic unit of the poem. Autobiographical significance. W. W. Robson writes that the poem brings in together the two conflicting sides of Tennyson, the responsible social being and the melancholic poet. Though they come together in the text of the poem, they do not recognize each other. Furthermore, Tennyson wrote Ulysses after the death of his Cambridge friend, the poet Arthur Henry Hallam, who was extremely dear to him. As per the Victorian critic Linda Hughes, the emotional gulf between the state of his domestic affairs and the loss of his special friendship informs the reading of Ulysses, particularly its treatment of domesticity. His urge to overcome the emotions and manage his huge household posed as a challenge to him. The idea of his protagonist transcending an age in such a circumstance was symbolic of him defying his own circumstances. Hence, he utilizes such a myth to mirror his anxieties at the moment. Tennyson states, "There is more about myself in Ulysses, which was written under the sense of loss and that all had gone by, but that still life must be fought out to the end. It was more written with the feeling of his loss upon me than many poems in memoriam." Now, the poem it little profits that an idle king by this still hearth among these barren crags, meshed with an aged wife, a meat and dole, unequal laws unto a savage race, that hoard and sleep and feed and know not me. I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the lees. All times I have enjoyed greatly, have suffered greatly, both with those that loved me and alone on shore, and when through scudding drifts the rainy yards vex the dim sea, I am become a name. The, here the great hero tells us that he is sick at his idle life in the rocky island of Ithaca. Such a life has no charm for him. The island itself is wild and rocky. The people living there are savages. They merely eat, sleep, and make piles of money. They have no ideals in life, hence, they cannot appreciate and understand a noble, heroic soul like Ulysses. His wife Penelope has grown old and cannot share a husband's ever youthful spirit. And as the king, he is to rule by laws which are imperfect and unfair. Ulysses feels that a dull, spiritless, and indolent life has no charm for him. In these lines, Ulysses expresses his discontent with a soft, inactive life. Such a life is unworthy of a man of heroic mold like Ulysses. Ulysses, the great hero, speaks to us of his past experiences of life and his resolve to have a life of adventure to the very end. He is sick of ruling over wild people too dull to appreciate and understand a man of heroic life at home. He will enjoy his life to the full. He compares life to a cup of wine, just as a man drinks till he has reached the sediment at the bottom. Ulysses will taste all aspects of life without leaving anything behind. His whole life has been spent in travel, and he has won much knowledge and experience in life. During his long wanderings, he has had his spell of joys and sufferings, yet he has sailed on in quest of knowledge. He has enjoyed and suffered with his companions when they were alive. When all of them died, he enjoyed and suffered alone. He has experienced life on land as well as on the sea at all times and in all places. Ulysses suffered and enjoyed with great fearlessness. It is the memory of these things that urge him on, even in his old age, to sail in quest of knowledge. For always roaming, with a hungry heart, much have I seen and known. Cities of men and manners, climates, councils, governments, myself not least, but honored of them all, and drunk delight of battles with my peers, far on the ringing plains of windy Troy. I am a part of all that I have met, yet all experience is an arch wherethrough gleams that untravelled world whose margin fades forever and forever when I move. How dull it is to pause, to make an end, to rust unburnished, not to shine in use, as though to breathe were life. Ulysses still yearns to travel the world like he used to do. As long as he's alive, he doesn't want to stop doing the things that, in his eyes, make life worth living. He found joy, he claims, in every moment he spent traveling, even at the times when he was suffering. He found joy both when he was with his faithful crew members and when he was by himself, both when he was on land and when he was sailing the sea through rainstorms. He has become famous throughout the world as an explorer who was continually traveling and yearning to know more. Ulysses reflects that he has seen and learnt a great deal about all the places where people live, about their lifestyles, cultures, and ways of governing themselves. Everywhere he went, he was shown honor and respect. Ulysses also found joy fighting alongside his fellow soldiers, men he honored and respected when he fought in battles far from home in the Trojan War. Ulysses feels that each person and place he has encountered has been changed by the encounter, as has he himself. But all these experiences have not satisfied his desire for travel. Rather, each encounter has only whetted his appetite to see more of the world. No matter how much of the world he sees, there is always still more to see, as it is these unseen regions that he has always tries to pursue. Ulysses exclaims that it is boring and unsatisfying to stay in one place and stop doing the activities that defined your life, comparing himself to a sword that has been allowed to rust uselessly away rather than being used gloriously in battle. Merely being alive doesn't mean you are truly living. Ulysses feels that multiple lifetimes would still have been too little time to do all he wishes to do, and is almost at the end of the one lifetime he has. Still, every hour that he has left to live before he dies has the potential to bring new opportunities for action. It would be disgraceful, he feels, to sit tight at home and just try to eat and stay alive for a few more years, when, even as an old man, his greatest desire is still to explore the world and keep learning more. He wants to go beyond the limits of what humans have seen and known, the way a shooting star seems to go beyond the horizon when it falls and disappears from sight. Ulysses then starts to describe his son Telemachus, who will inherit Ulysses' role as ruler of the island when Ulysses dies. Ulysses affirms that he loves his son, who is conscientious and thoughtful about how he will best carry out his responsibilities as ruler. With patience and judgment, Telemachus will work to civilize the fierce wild people of Ithaca and make them more gentle and gradually teach them to devote their lives to productive civic activities. Ulysses cannot find any faults in Telemachus. He devotes his life to the responsibilities of his role. He pays proper respect to his people and his parents, and after his father dies, he will continue offering appropriate sacrifices to the gods that Ulysses most honored. Telemachus is well suited for the role of ruler, just as Ulysses is well suited for a different role, the role of explorer. There lies the port, the vessel puffs her sail. There gloom the dark broad seas. My mariners, souls that have toiled and wrought, and thought with me, that ever with a frolic welcome took the thunder and the sunshine, and opposed free hearts, free foreheads. You and I are old. Old age hath yet his honour and his toil. Death closes all, but something ere the end, some work of noble note may yet be done, not unbecoming men that strove with gods. The lights begin to twinkle from the rocks. The long day wanes, the slow moon climbs, the deep moans round with many voices. Ulysses looks out towards the port where the wind is blowing in the sails of his ship and where he can see the wide dark sea. He now addresses his former crew, the man who worked alongside him and explored the world and gained new knowledge with him. He reminds them that they always accepted joyfully whatever the travels would bring, whether trouble or good luck, and proudly faced every obstacle with resolution and bravery. Ulysses then acknowledges that both he and they have grown older, but insists that even as old men, they can still work, do hard work, and earn respect. Soon they will die, and the chance to do great deeds will be over. But before they die, they can still accomplish something heroic, something fitting for man that once battled the gods. The people of Ithaca are beginning to light lamps in their homes. Night is falling. The moon is rising in the sky. The waves of the sea are murmuring almost as if they are speaking to Ulysses. Ulysses urges his crew as his friends to join him on one last voyage. Even now, they are not too old to explore some unknown region of the world. He invites them to board a ship, push away from shore, and man the oars so they can beat the waves, because Ulysses still has the goal of sailing past the horizon as far as he can go before he ultimately dies. He acknowledges that the waves may sink the ship, but they may also find their way to the place where the souls of the blessed go after their death. There they might even see their old companion, the accomplished warrior Achilles. Many of the heroic qualities have been diminished by old age, but they haven't been lost completely. They don't have the same strength of physical prowess they possessed as younger men, fighting epic, world changing battles. But inside, Ulysses declares they are ultimately the same men they always were. Their minds and hearts are still brave and composed in the face of danger and obstacles. Their bodies have been weakened by old age, something all human beings are destined to face, but their spirits are as strong as ever. They remain determined to work hard, to pursue their goals and accomplish them, and to never give up. Thank you.